Welcome to the show. I'm Mr. Ben, and today we're diving into the lesser-known side of New York City, the places not captured on every postcard. Not always in the guidebooks, but that tells stories just as rich as any skyline view. New York is famous for its architectural giants, Empire, State Building, Chrysler, the sleek lines of One World Trade, but beyond those lie hidden gems, quiet marvels that speak to the city's deep, layered architectural legacy. Let's begin downtown, in the financial district. Everyone looks up at the new World Trade Center, but if you walk just a few blocks to 55 Wall Street, you'll find an overlooked masterpiece. Originally, the Merchants Exchange, later the U.S. Custom House, and then a bank. This building dates back to 1842. It's a Greek Revival beauty, flanked by imposing columns and a granite facade that whispers of ancient temples. Designed by Isaiah Rodgers and later modified by McKim, Mead, and White. It holds inside a rotunda with a majestic dome that's rarely open to the public. Yet it stands there, stoic and historic, often missed by the crowds headed to more modern attractions. Not far away is the Francis Tavern, a place of Revolutionary War history and Georgian-style grace. But few realize that its current appearance is a result of careful 20th century restoration, and that beneath its colonial veneer is an architectural palimpsest of New York's evolving aesthetic. Tucked on Pearl Street, it's both a museum and a living structure, a piece of preserved architecture amidst the towers of finance. Now we head to the West Village. Here, the pace slows. The streets are narrow, the sidewalks irregular, and if you pay attention, you'll come across the Jefferson Market Library. Once a courthouse, this whimsical Victorian Gothic structure, with its turreted tower and colorful brickwork, looks like something plucked from a European fairy tale. Built in the 1870s and designed by Frederick Clark, Withers, and Calvert Vaux, it was nearly demolished in the 1950s, but neighborhood activists saved it, and today it stands as a functioning library, a symbol of how civic architecture, when given a chance, can survive and thrive. Further uptown, in the East 60s, you'll find the Mount Vernon Hotel Museum, a federal-style house built in 1799. Most people have no idea it's there nestled between towers of glass and steel. But this stone structure is a window into New York's pre-urban past, when Midtown was still the countryside. It once served as a day hotel for wealthy New Yorkers looking to escape the heat. Now it stands quietly on East 60 Honest Street, a relic, a reminder of the pastoral city that once was. In Brooklyn, Cobble Hill and Carroll Gardens are packed with historic townhouses, but tucked within is the little-known Warren Place Mews, built in the 1870s by philanthropist Alfred Treadway White. These quaint brick cottages were intended as affordable housing for working-class families. With Gothic trim and tiny front gardens, they look more like something out of an English village than Brooklyn. Today, they're privately owned and immaculately preserved. Passers-by often mistake them for old stables or hidden alleyways, but in truth, they represent a rare experiment in socially conscious architecture. Another Brooklyn gem is the Eastern Parkway. While not exactly hidden, its story often is. Designed by Frederick Law Olmsted and Calvert, The mines behind Central Park. It was the first parkway in the U.S., designed not just for transport, but as a living green corridor. It connects Prospect Park to the Brooklyn Museum and beyond, lined with grand Pruor apartments and neo-classical churches. Each building along it tells its own story, from Beaux Arts extravagance to Art Deco finesse. In Harlem, the Morris Jumel Mansion sits quietly on Jumel Terrace. Built in 1765, it's the oldest surviving house in Manhattan. It once hosted George Washington. Aaron Burr lived there, and its Palladian design is crisp, elegant, and unexpectedly peaceful. Surrounded by trees, it offers a sharp contrast to the density of the surrounding neighborhood. Its architectural serenity is amplified by the stories within its walls, stories of revolution, scandal, and reinvention. Let's not forget the Bronx, where the Grand Concourse is a living museum of Art Deco. Inspired by the Champs-Élysées in Paris, the Grand Concourse was imagined as a wide boulevard for a modern metropolis. During the 1920s and 30s, developers built up the avenue with apartment buildings that still dazzle with geometric forms, mosaic lobbies, and streamlined facades. Though often overlooked in the architectural canon, this stretch is an open-air gallery of design experimentation, all with the optimism of a pre-war New York. Tucked away in Queens, in the neighborhood of Douglaston, is the Douglas Manor Historic District. This area feels like you've left the city entirely, with winding streets, early 20th century homes, and a proximity to Little Neck Bay. It's almost suburban, but with a coastal flair. The homes reflect a mix of Tudor, colonial revival, and arts and crafts styles, all meticulously preserved. It's a corner of the city few venture into, and fewer know about, but it offers one of the most surprising architectural time capsules in the boroughs. Now, shifting our gaze to Roosevelt Island. Yes, the island has a futuristic feel, dominated by residential high-rises and the unique tram. But down at the southern tip lies the Franklin D. Roosevelt Four Freedoms Park, designed by Louis Kahn in the 1970s and completed decades after his death. It's a stark, contemplative space, a granite-lined garden, ending in a simple bust of FDR. Its geometry, its elegance, its reverence, it's unlike anything else in New York. A temple to democracy, shaped not by ornament but by restraint and vision. Let's return to Manhattan and talk about the Skyscraper Church. The Riverside Church, near Columbia University, is one such marvel. Built in the 1930s, this Gothic revival giant rises like a cathedral from medieval France, but it's entirely American in scale and ambition. With its 392-foot bell tower, it remains one of the tallest churches in the U.S. The interiors vaulted, soaring, contain murals, carvings, and even elevators. It's an architectural fusion of faith and innovation. Another spiritual gem is the Islamic Cultural Center on 3rd Avenue and 96th Street, built in the early 1990s. It was one of the first mosques in New York, designed by Muslim architects using traditional Islamic forms. With its minaret, its modernist dome, and its reflective marble surfaces, it's both sacred space and statement, a modern monument rooted in ancient traditions, quietly asserting its presence in the Manhattan grid. Architecture, after all, isn't just about buildings, it's about the way they shape our lives. how they reflect the invisible stories of a city. And that brings us to the hidden passages and lesser-known infrastructure that supports it all. Take the City Hall subway station. Closed to the public since 1945, it was the original southern terminal of the first NYC subway line. Its architecture is sublime arched ceilings, colored tilework, brass chandeliers. Though rarely seen today, it remains a jewel beneath the surface. A few lucky riders who stay on the 6 train past the Brooklyn Bridge stop can catch a glimpse of it as the train turns around. Similarly hidden are the remnants of the pneumatic tube mail system. In the early 20th century, New York had a network of underground tubes that carried mail at 35 miles an hour. The architecture of these systems, small, industrial, utilitarian, represented a different kind of vision, infrastructure as design. We can't talk about hidden architecture without mentioning the High Line, although now it's a popular destination. Still, its origin as a disused elevated rail line is key. What was once an industrial remnant became, through design and imagination, a new kind of urban park. The architects, James Corner, field operations with Diller Scofidio, plus Renfro, transformed rusted steel and overgrown tracks into a floating garden, breathing new life into post-industrial ruins. Across the river, in Long Island City, stands the Hunters Point Library, not exactly hidden anymore, but its structure, designed by Stephen Hall, is a sculptural marvel. With its aluminum facade and regular windows, it's part building, part invitation. It asks us to see libraries not just as places of books, but as civic anchors, architectural expressions of learning and openness. Then there's the Little Red Lighthouse under the George Washington Bridge. A child's storybook made it famous, but the lighthouse itself, once essential for navigation, is now a charming artifact of a different time. It sits there, dwarfed by steel and concrete, yet proud. Its small red cylinder reminds us that scale isn't everything. Presence matters. Let's not forget the Chrysler Building lobby. While the spire catches all the attention, the lobby is a deco masterpiece, polished marble, custom light fixtures, murals of industrial optimism. It's free to enter, and yet most people walk right by it. A hidden gem hiding in plain sight. We could go on. There's the Seagram Building's Plaza, a minimalist void in Midtown that redefined public space. There's the Oculus, with its soaring wings, controversial, yes, but undeniably bold. There's the old Bell Labs building in the West Village, now Westbeth, which became one of the first artist housing complexes in the country. Even the New York Public Library's lesser branches, the Aguilar Library in East Harlem, the Ottendorfer in the East Village, offer tiny architectural surprises. Carved facades, decorative cornices, a century of stories behind quiet doors. The beauty of New York's hidden architecture is that it's never really hidden. It's just waiting for you to notice, waiting for you to look up, look down, peek through gates, enter doors you never noticed before. The city reveals itself in layers, and architecture is its language. From the cobbled streets of Dumbo to the faded grandeur of old movie palaces in the Bronx. From the Trois Flight Center at JFK, a swooping 1960s fantasia now reborn as a hotel, to the sculpted firehouses that dot every borough. Every corner of this city holds a secret, and those secrets are carved in stone, cast in iron, poured in concrete, and wrapped in glass. So next time you walk through New York, take a different route. Step down an alley, look behind the trees, peer into the forgotten. You just might find a chapel, a castle, a mews, a mosaic, something that tells a new story about an old city. I'm Mr. Ben, and this has been Hidden Architectural Gems of NYC. Until next time, stay curious, stay wandering, and remember, in New York, history is not just something you read, it's something you walk through.